So, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome for Industry 202. And good afternoon again for people who just put the headsets. So just show of hands, how many of you have smart manufacturing, data and AI strategy? Okay, few people, amazing, great. How many of you already implement a couple of use cases and they're now scaling to a multiple location, multiple factories? Okay, great. So we hear a lot from our customers that they're quite successful of deploying the first workload and the first use case. However, the challenge comes when you want to scale this to a multiple location, to a multiple factories, to a multiple data sources. So I'm here today to talk to you about how you can build data and AI and a smart manufacturing strategy, and how you can scale that using a framework we call Industrial Data Fabric. And also to introduce our customer, D. Smith, where you will hear from them about their own strategy and their data and AI journey so far. My name is Ahmed Rafat. I'm a Principal Solution Architect on AWS. And I'm delighted to be here today with Adrian Pinder, who is the Head of Digital and Data in D. Smith, and Sanjay Kumar, the Chief Data Officer for Exponential AI. So quickly on the agenda, I will be focused a little bit about the strategy, how you can build your strategy. Hand over to Adrian, where he will talk about D. Smith, their journey. Then to Sanjay from our partner, where he will talk about how did he implement a couple of these use cases. Then they will hand back to me, which I will do a little bit of demo, which including generative AI, just to make everyone excited. So as a nation of $200 billion of manufacturing output and the 8th largest nation of manufacturing globally, we hear from our customers about trends and challenges. So I want to start by that. So let's start by the trends first. So the trends that we are seeing from our customers in manufacturing is about data. They have a massive amount of data. They are not green fields on this field, right? They have an amount of data more than 30 years. They're brownfield. And they want to use this data to enhance their operations, enhance their business, generate a new line of business. But also, they want to digitalize that, and they have the KPIs that help them to measure the success. Things like OEE, or overall equipment effectiveness. The other trend that we see as well is their focus about become more closer to their customer, hearing from their feedback, feeding this back to the engineering team, and building a flywheel, part of their strategy to be able to be more customer-centric. And they also do that with in mind about sustainability and supply chain. We all learn it by heart during COVID time and geopolitical situations, how sustainability is supply chain is very important. And that is part of the trends and strategy that we see. And the last one is sustainability. Manufacturing definitely is a big consumer of energy, so every single executive that we met, they speak about sustainability. But this doesn't come with the challenges. And the first challenge is like, they have a lot of manufacturing and automotive. They have a massive different data sources. They are a different type of data. So they want to bring this data, and they also want to make a real-time decision. And that's another challenge with the data sources. And once you land the data, you need also to organize this data, put the right context around it to able to consume it in your data journey and AI. And then it's about the point that I mentioned at the beginning, that you want to do this in a scale. You want to do this in a scale to a multiple use cases, to a multiple locations. And you have to do this in a secure way. So as we talked about the trends, we talk about challenges. Let's focus on the core. because we could be easily get lost when talking about the buzzwords like IoT, AI, generative AI, and all that stuff. So if we think about what is the durable needs for manufacturing, in our view is three things. How you can become, if we can say, boring predictable about your KPIs in terms of availability, manufacturing output that you have, and the OEE, which I will be touch base on it. And also, how you can be resilient to requirements and changes and moving fast based on your customer needs. And empowering, which is the last point, empowering the operation managers and even shop floor engineers to be able to take fast decisions. And you have to do this with business in mind. And just to try to bring this to life, let's take an example. So as you see here is an example of one of manufacturing around 420,000 products in a year. But we all know as a manufacturer that we don't actually deliver that amount. Due to the availability, performance, and quality yield that we have, we could be drop this amount maybe to half. And that's why overall equipment effectiveness, or OEE, is a key factor that you see here on the slide. And if we just assume some numbers about the cost per item, the fixed cost, that could be our profit. I want you to think about if you have the right data and strategy, and you're able to increase your OEE, overall equipment effectiveness, by 10%. And even as you see here on the slide, that we increase the fixed cost by 5%, you can still have up to 40% increase of your revenue. So think about that. That's what we call the shadow capacity, right? You increase what you are manufacturing without actually building something new, right? Without building a new factory or a new location. So when you start to think about your data strategy, start by business use cases, as we say, but also you need to keep in mind that you want to achieve the goal of the digital maturity. You could start by a single use case when you're able to monitor on the y-axis, as you see here, about the availability of this equipment. Then you think how you can do predictive maintenance, or even using machine learning to generate more business out of it. But that's one use case, one location. To be able to achieve digital maturity, you need to have what we call is data ops maturity. And that's come with a scale, with a framework, with a strategy like the one that we are talking about, which is industrial data fabric. So industrial data fabric is not only related to IoT, but also to your data strategy. Start, as you see here, by your use case. Ask the right question, what this use case will add value to my business. And think about it in two factors. The first factor is how feasible is this use case, and what is the business impact of it. And based on that, you choose the use cases. Then you look what is your data sources for that. That goes your product life cycle management, your MRO, your SCADA system. And then when it's come in between the three layers that we and our partner help you with these three layers of how you can bring the data to cloud, how you can store that, how you can build context around it to be able to make decisions. And once you have that, you could now use all the nice fancy stuff that maybe you hear it the whole day about how you can do a BI, how you can use and predictive maintenance, how you can have even generative AI on top of it. But it's absolutely critical that you think about your strategy and about your use cases. And you always need to think big and start small and move fast. That's the three key areas, right? Select one use case, understand the data source, and start to implement that. And then later, you can scale that to a multiple data source because you've already got the framework. Remember, right? We have this multiple layers of you understanding your data sources, you ingest this data, build context around it, and then you're having analytics and AI on top of that. And then you can easily scale this to multiple locations, multiple sites. With that is like help you to achieve more use cases in the scale that you need. And with that, I want to hand over to Adrian, where Adrian will talk to you more about how DS Smith able to build their own strategy and implement a couple of use cases. So Adrian.
Lovely, thank you.
Welcome, Adrian.
Lovely, thanks, Amit. Great, thank you. So as humans, we've been manufacturing paper since about the 1st century AD. And while we're doing it in a lot more mechanical way, actually the physics and the chemistry hasn't changed that much over the last 2,000 years. The company that I work for, DS Smith, were very successful, and we started 80 years ago, and we know how to make paper and how to make fiber-based packaging solutions. So why, therefore, are we investing in digital and data technology? Why are we doing it? Because this is the technology that we need to make paper and make packaging solutions. Data is becoming the differentiator, and if we want to be here in 80 years, this is the technology that we need to be investing in. I'm Adrian Pinder. I'm head of digital and data for DS Smith, and I want to spend a few minutes telling you about the journey that we've been on over the last 3 years. But let me start with who we are. We're one of those very large companies that you've probably never heard of. So we're a FTSE 100 manufacturing company, about 30,000 people, about 350 plants across Europe and North America, £8 billion worth of revenue, and we have 3 divisions. We make recycled paper, and then packaging solutions for a wide range of FMCG customers. So just to give you a sense of what we produce, which is sort of important for our digital story, we make a number of fairly specific paper products in sort of 15, 16 of our paper mills, and then we make a very large number of really bespoke packaging solutions for an extremely wide range of FMCG and industrial customers. And that's important for sort of 2 reasons. We've essentially got 2 parts of the business. The paper business, which is very sort of a flow business, 24/7 operation, really important to keep the machines up, very energy intensive. And we've got a packaging business, much more bespoke, much more sort of batch manufacturing. And so we need to think about the digital plays differently for both of those 2 sides. But also we need to think, how can data help us get those 2 parts of the business to work together? How can we really sort of optimize performance across the whole business? And digital and data is really now starting to help us do that. So why are we going on this journey? So there's some external reasons and some internal reasons. Externally, look, customers are asking us to do this. They want a much more personalized experience. They want to operate with us in a much more frictionless way. They want to operate against multiple channels, right? We need to be more open and report more to stakeholders around carbon and sustainability and ESG. So we need to find a way to report on what we do in a lot more easier way. Our staff are asking us to do this, right? They want to work more flexibly. They want to use the tools at work that they're using at home in their personal lives. And there's disruption going on, right? Even though we're a 2,000-year-old industry, there is disruption happening around us, and we have to respond to that. But there's also internal reasons. We've grown through acquisition, We've got a wide number of systems across the company. We've got over 500 applications, a large number of suppliers, a very sort of complicated IT estate, and we love Excel, right? And so we need to help go on the digital and data journey to help stitch some of this together. So how did we start? Well, we started about 3 years ago by creating something called the Digital and Data Hub. And that does sort of 3 things. The first is it provides connectivity to bring together our great people in the company who are thinking about digital and data and who are working on this already. It also allows us to bring into the company absolutely the right skills that we need, those modern data engineering, data science skills, and to give them the right environment to work and be successful. And then the third thing that it does is it gives us an ability to work with the right partners. And so AWS and Exponential, who you'll hear from in a minute, are going with us on this journey and supporting us. And we do 3 things. We've built our data platform, which we call the Data Factory. We're building digital and data products for the company to add value. And we're supporting our people on that skills and that sort of mindset journey. But I always say we're definitely not just a center of excellence, right? We're a capability to deliver value and deliver products and solutions to the company. And here's some of those solutions that we've developed already. So the first is a tool called Procurement Spend Analysis to help us bring together data and insight on what we're spending across the company with our suppliers. And Sanjay will talk more about that solution in a second. We've done some migration. So we've migrated a solution that helps us report on the operation of our paper machines over to cloud so that we can make that solution future-proof, make it lower cost to operate, and deliver more analytics. Operational equipment efficiency is a really important metric for us on both sides of the business. And so we're doing a project, again, bringing that data across a wide number of plants, standardizing it, and making it easier to analyze, to bring the data to operational leaders to make more near real-time decision making. And then finally, we're looking at how do we use data to create new value and new services. And so we're looking at solutions of putting trackers in customers' boxes as they go around their supply chain, pulling that data into the cloud, and looking at how do we monitorize that to provide more value to customers. No presentation today is complete without a slide on Gen AI. So here's ours. We've started on this journey a few months ago by doing about 5 early pilots, probably where everybody is starting today. So we've got a chat bot to help our sustainability team respond to customers' questions. We're looking at something that's doing translation. We're looking at our own sort of chat GPT type sort of interface. And so we're just sort of going on that journey. I think the key learning we've had so far is that building the Gen AI pilot is one thing. Getting the governance internally to get it approved is another thing. And then getting it sort of integrated into our network is yet another thing. So building it was easy. Getting it deployed is also part of the journey and part of the thing that we're working on. And then finally, sort of what's the learning that I think we've had, or the learnings that we've had over the last sort of 2 or 3 years. And I think for me, it's these sort of 3 points. You heard it from Ahmed earlier on, sort of think big, start small. My reason for saying that is I've sort of found it's just as difficult to work on a small problem as it is to work on a big problem, right? So you may as well work on the big problem because that's what moves the needle, right? So find the big problems and work on the big problems, but you've got to start somewhere and you've got to sort of start small. The second thing is, and it's sort of fairly obvious, but you've always got to align to the business strategy, right? And you've always got to make sure there's value for the business and there's a business case that makes sense for the business. But it's more than that though. Make sure it's taking the business in a direction that it wants to go and that's aligned with their strategy. And that's hugely important, and we spend a lot of time making sure that we're aligned to the business. And then the third is, look, I think you just can't do it alone, right? You're never going to have enough of the right people. You're never going to recruit them at the rate that you need them. You have to work with partners, and you have to find the right partner that works for you, and have an open and transparent and honest relationship with them, because you're going to go on the journey together, and it is a journey, and you have to do it together. And that's one of the learnings that I think we've had over the last sort of 2 years or so. And so with that, I'd like to hand over to Sanjay Kumar from Exponentia, so one of our sort of key strategic partners, who's going to talk about a couple of the projects that they've done with us in this space. Sanjay, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adrian.
There you go.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's always a challenge to keep the audience awake after the lunch session. So we've been lucky to get this time. So thank you very much for being here. So I was trying to buy something last week for myself, and it was taking me a lot of time to crunch the data, analyze the data, and understand what is the buying decision I'm going to make. And that was just a small projector. Now, I'm going to talk about 2 use cases, what Adrian was touching about. One of them is a procurement spend analytics, and second is about the operational efficiency. So with that, my name is Sanjay Kumar. I am the head of Exponentia, Chief Data Officer in AI. Thank you. So let's understand the approach we have followed. So the approach what Adrian talked about is to think big and start small. And that is where our journey started. So Adrian was working with the business to identify the small use case around what are the challenges they have. And once he understood the problem statement, he engaged with us to identify and validate the problem statement. That is where we engaged to work on the discovery for a couple of weeks, not to just identify the use case, but also to make sure there's a business impact, there's a business value for that use case. And after that, we kind of dived into that problem statement, and we said, okay, let's identify why there's a procurement spend analytics needed. So we can imagine the companies like a company like DS Smith, who has a £8 billion revenue and who has really 200 plus suppliers. It is very difficult for an organization to manage those buying decisions without having the right set of data. And that is where the data factory, that is where this procurement spend analytics platform was needed. And to provide that capability to the business where they can access the data, they can identify those data points, and they can make those decisions what they're making every day. So, but though that data has to be accurate, that data has to be timely. So that's where we validated the need with the business. We worked as part of the discovery. Once we have identified there's a why there's a need for a procurement spend analytics, then we moved into the approach where we kind of worked in the discovery phase to identify what are the different pain points which business is facing. So overall, we conducted the discovery, identified several pain points which business was facing, but mainly if I have to encapsulate that into the major themes, one of the major pain points which the business was facing is around availability of the data. So they were kind of getting the data, but data was provided to them quite late in the journey, so they were not able to make that decision in time. The second pain point that is around data quality. So the data which was provided to them or the data which was coming to them was not accurate. They had to spend a lot of time in terms of validating that data set, transforming that data set to make it fit for their consumption. And largely the major point what we kind of identified from the business is there are 20% of categories which were not mapped. So now the categories which are not mapped for the suppliers were causing a major pain point for the business. So overall these points, when we understood what is needed to be done, we kind of worked on what is the solution which will fit for the business need. So we worked with the business, we identified in largely 3 things which will help them to solve this problem. One of them is to provide them the data analytics capability around dashboard. So that is one. The second thing we worked on automating their manual process, because most of the problem what they had is getting the data through manually, through Excel sheet, through emails, and that was not sustainable, not manageable. And that is something what we did by automating. And the third thing what we did largely is around building a workflow which will help them to automate the category mapping, and I will be touching that solution in a minute. What you see here is a conceptual solution architecture. Now, it's not the technology what we actually delivered, because as you see from the top, we have personas. So once we engage with the business, we understood what is the business personas, who is needing what. So from a leadership perspective, there was an analytical capability. From a procurement community perspective, it is not just the solution or a technology which is going to solve the problem. There's a process change which needed to be done. There's a training which needed to be done. And that is where we worked with the procurement operation managers, we worked with the procurement champions, and we built that community. Because imagine they were not just waiting for this solution to be arrived, they were already doing their decision. That means they already have their dashboards. They were already using that data. So what we had to do is not just deliver the solution, but also to make sure that they adapt that solution. So we worked with them to identify their business need, make sure that solution what we are designing is catering to their need, and that is where we map the personas. We use the AWS ecosystem to automate that data coming from multiple data sources and standardize the data, and which is going to help them. And then we also build the use case which we focused on is mainly around spend optimization. But once the platform is ready, it will be able to extend and meet other use cases which business is requiring. Now, this is a more of a technology architecture, so people who are very keen on technology can appreciate this one. So what we did is essentially we actually used the AWS ecosystem to get the data through connectors and connecting to all the source systems and getting the data out of it, standardize it using a glue, and we use the step function to orchestrate the data pipeline, and then positioning that data through the Medallion architecture through a brown to the silver to the gold. Now, as I talked about the personas, the data consumption has different use cases. So the procurement operation managers were looking for data in a data dashboard, but there's also a shared service who is looking to ingest that data into a different tool so that they can analyze the data, they can access the data better. So we were able to cater to all those needs through the solution what we have built. What is the innovation? Because like Adrian talked about the AI, so we were also thinking how can we leverage the modern technology, not just provide the solution on the traditional technology. So we used ML in the workflows. So as I talked about the major problem what they had is around category mapping. So what we did using an ML is we built that kind of a logic where if the category is already mapped for a supplier, then we were able to recommend a category to the ops manager to say this category is already mapped to the supplier, but they had the flexibility to override that category or remap that category. So that is something where we have used an ML in the workflow system. We have done all the solutioning, but that solutioning should bring the business impact, business value. So how this is going to bring the business value? So as I talked about, there are 200 plus suppliers. And earlier, the organization was kind of waiting for the data to come. But with that automated data pipeline, we were able to bring that months of data waiting period to a day. So we made that data possible and available to the business every single day. So now the data is available to them. They can do a better planning. They can have a better spend category mapping, which is giving them a visibility on their spend. That leads to a better negotiation. That leads to a better decision making. That leads to a better positioning for them. So with that, if they can, they will be able to save from 0.5 up to 1%. And we can understand organization with the size of DS Smith, it will be a significant improvement in the procurement space. And then lastly, it was also adding to the sustainability agenda, because every project, most of the project I'm seeing clients are doing, there's a factor of sustainability. Now that the DS Smith has the visibility on the suppliers, the GSS team is able to understand who is the supplier who is able to contribute in compliance to the sustainability agenda. So that's one of the use case what we have delivered successfully. It has been rolled out to all the countries, and now we are working in the step 2, where we are going to go to the next level of category mapping to the product level. The second use case which I'm going to talk about is around overall equipment of efficiency, which Ahmed has also touched on. We can imagine Adrian talked about around 300 plants, 300 plus plants, an organization size with 30,000 employees. There's always a challenge to getting the data to an operational manager who is looking to manage and optimize their resources. The challenge is around manufacturing sites is getting that real-time data available to them, getting the standardized data available to them, because with the 300 plants, the data is available but in a different formats, and consolidating that data itself is a problem. So it's like you're driving a car, but you're looking in a back view mirror because you're getting a month back data. So what we are doing in this project is we are trying to work with all the regions to ingest the data in a real time or near real time, and also standardize their data so they will be able to make that use of that data for their usage. How it will impact, what benefit it will bring to the organization. So it will be 2 key benefits what will be bringing to the organization. One is around optimization. So the operation managers will be having the data available to them in a near real time, where they will be able to understand what are the patterns where they need to intervene early. So they will be able to intervene and then make that change. The second is around the financial benefits. So Ahmed talked about if you can increase the overall efficiency by 0.%, in this case, if DS Smith is able to make 1% of the efficiency, they will be able to make financial impact in millions. So these are the 2 use cases which we are currently working on, in addition to other use cases built on the data factory platform which Adrian was touching upon. With that, I would like to pass on to Ahmed for the demo. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. That's brilliant, brilliant. Thank you, Sanjay. It's a brilliant story. Thanks, Adrian, as well. So excited time to start bringing a little bit energy to the room. So a little bit with the demo. So who was here in the morning in my colleague Chris Wood's session on Twin Maker, Digital Twin, site-wise? Good, brilliant, great, great. So one more architecture. I know I always say it's more of a strategy session, but we cannot have it without an architecture. In a high level, as you can imagine, your data sources, you need to ingest that to AWS. And then you bring this data through an IoT, Greengrass, which is our on-prem collecting and ingesting data to IoT core. But then once this data is landed on AWS, you need to put a context around it. And this is where a service we call SiteWise is build this context. Like, how is your production line looks like? What is the sensor is doing together, right? And then people start to think, okay, you know what? Let's have this in a more of a digital twin. And we in AWS have a service of digital twin, which is my colleague this morning spoke about it, which we call Twin Maker, which help you to build your own digital twin. I'm not going to be covering this again, but what we are adding on this demo is we integrating this with generative AI. So the demo scenario that we have, it's a cookie factory. It's good to have cookies after lunch. So it's a cookie factory where we build a digital twin for it. And then we simulating a scenario that the data is coming in for one of the production line of the cookies, and then there is some issues with the cookie shape. And this information is going to be sent to the generative AI model, which it has been fine-tuned and build what we call retriever augmented generation, or a RAG, based on your knowledge and the experience that you have as a manufacturing. So this is where the power sits. This is where the value of generative AI, not just with the foundation model, but connecting this deeply with your data sources. And that's what you see here on the architecture. You get Twin Maker that's connecting with the site-wise. You have your data sources that you see here on S3, and then we send this information to Bedrock. And within the digital twin, which you will see now, we added this chat interface where the operation managers or the shop floor engineers, they can chat within the digital twin and advise them about what is the issue and what could be the possible solutions that they can jump and try to fix it as soon as possible. And we're doing this in 4 phases. So the first phase is diagnose, then we go for inspect, then we mitigate the issue, and then we clear our own digital twin or our own operation. So let me start by playing this for you. By the way, this demo is available for you. As you see here, and I will share the link later, but you see here, this is the shop floor, this is the cookie factory. It's being detected there is some issues happening in the cookie shape, and then this information has been sent to the generative AI model, which is, again, is connecting to your data sources, it's understanding its SOP, it's understanding your knowledge base, and then start to come up by what could be the possible issues that you are facing, right? We're still in the first phase. We're still, in a diagnose phase. We don't know what actually could be exactly the issue. And then we are moving the phase where site-wise, build this context for your system, which is the contextualization that I was talking about. So the cookie inspector, as you see here, detect that the cookie shapes is not actually fitting the high quality that we have as a cookie manufacturer. And that could be in the freezer tunnel, that could be in our temperature, could be for many, many different reasons. And you can see here, maybe it's too small. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but there is a multiple reason that's been highlighted there. Maybe the dough itself, the mixture is not good. Maybe the temperature is high. Maybe there is more vibration than usual. But from what I see here from site-wise, it looks like that the temperature from the freezer tunnel is actually fluctuating a lot, okay? And if you see the response from the generative AI, say, you know what, based on our experience, that could be an issue. So then I can go to the third phase and say to my generative AI model, oh, you know what, can you assess me? And I will just simply prompt the model, which is like just a fancy word of, say, chatting with it. I say, like, can you help me how I can solve this problem of the temperature issue? So what you see here is suggesting for you how you could solve this problem, but not only that, it's also giving you the reference of the SOP that is explaining how you should fix that. So this is specifically very important to avoid any hallucination. So you have a standard operation procedure that is the model is connecting to, understanding, and based on the issue is actually analyzing and recommend for you the solutions. And I will play this back if I just can go back and I play this again, just to show it to you. So you see here, when I just type for you the type for the model, how I can fix this issue, it will come with a response, and you should see citation that's there. When I click on the citation, it will open the document for me, right? So that's very important. Big concern on generative AI about hallucination. We are quite good by providing a very confident response, right? And you feel it's actually right. That's why you should have it closed to your own data, which we call RAG, or Retriever Augmented Generation. Once you're done by that, the IoT will just like ingest the data, real time or near real time. It depends on how you implement it. The issue has been solved, and happy days. Okay? This demo is available for you. You can actually scan the QR code down there on the screen, which title as a demo. It's on a GitHub. You can build the full scenario, including the 3D of the cookie factory. But if you already have a digital twin, you have the code as well on this demo. So you can as well do similar stuff with your own digital twin. And we're definitely happy to work with you on how you can implement this with your own systems and your own journey. Also, you're going to get on a couple of the links here related to our manufacturing and how you can build industrial data fabric. You know? Remember that you need to build your strategy and you move from there. So you'll see the link there. But I want to highlight something which is, Adrian touched base on it as well, is industrial data fabric, or IDF, is quite flexible as well. So you don't need to follow exactly what we are putting there, right? Because you could find so many stuff. It's based on your data and you're working backward from that. And also the link for generative AI. And with that, I want to thank you. So there is a link for the survey. So I appreciate if everyone can bring up their phones and do the survey. Some people is not, so please do the survey. That's quite important to hear your feedback. And please remember that you always start with your business case. You know, build your own strategy, plan with your own strategy, and then start small and move to a bigger use cases. And as we always say, you're always better to measure twice and cut once. Thank you, everyone. Go build. Thank you.